You said click.
We are now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geek Bites, a podcast by a few geeks just trying to be heard around the world not flooded with geeks. This is your host, John Guzman, aka Lockdar. My claim to fame in the geek world is that I am the guild leader of Reloaded Whisperwind US. We also happen to raid. And with me, as always, is my two co-hosts, the two awesome people that I get to spend every Wednesday with, Mr. Morph, who is a resident comic book aficionado, nerd, whatever you want to call him, and also the bartender for the zombie apocalypse. Are you drinking?
Yes. I actually have a couple different beers tonight. I went with
Really?
the Blue Moon sampler pack, so I've got an agave blonde ale.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
It's actually pretty good. And
Are
then
sweet?
a summer honey wheat.
Which one is sweeter of the two? Or you haven't tried them both?
The agave blonde is sweeter of the two.
That's what I figure.
Yeah. It's got a more like because it's a blonde ale, it doesn't have it's less hoppy, and so your flavors actually you get more of the flavors that they add to the beer, like the agave. With the honey wheat, you get a little bit more hop to it, so the honey kind of gets blended in.
I'm gonna have to go ahead and test that out because that sounds delicious. And the other corner, Mr. Buddha Bear, Mr. Kib, a man boldly going from the couch to the kitchen and back again.
Yes, I am.
And you're drinking.
I'm drinking feckin' Irish whiskey.
You know, I always like you better when you drink. I don't know what that says about you,
Yeah, most people do.
but you're just a little bit more talkative, more loose, more prone
I'm,
to
I'm, a,
the
I'm a
debauchery.
happy drunk.
You're a happy drunk.
He drops the
I,
F bomb a lot more when he drinks.
I can get a lot of debauchery from him when like it's one on one, but then when he gets in a group situation, he needs a little of that, juicing him up to get him loose.
Little liquid courage.
Ooh, look at that panda, Kung Fu Panda. I have a
Kung Fu
picture.
Panda.
I have a picture kicking that panda
Do
somewhere.
you?
Yeah.
I have a picture taken with that panda. Down
Well,
in Gardner, there's a giant statue, and I mean it's a life-size statue
yeah,
of Poe.
yeah. I have. I haven't been to that statue, but I was with a statue, and I actually did a kick at him, and somebody captured it. So there's a picture somewhere where I'm kicking that stupid panda. But we have a lot to talk about today, and um, my topic might not be so let's start with where I want to go. And I want to go and talk about this massacre that happened over the weekend later on. And the reason for it is that I was having one of the most wonderful weekends that I've had in a long time. I haven't seen my family like in months, just because of the travel that I do for work and just tons of things coming up. It just kept on delaying my trips up there. And I had seen my family when my sister brought my niece and nephew to visit us, and so I've seen them, so stuff like that. But I was having the most wonderful weekend with them. We went to see the X-Men movie with the kids, and it was just an all-around amazing weekend. And then this massacre happens, and I don't know why, because don't get me wrong, the Sandy Hook Elementary thing really threw me for a loop. It's probably one of the reasons that I stopped watching Sons of Anarchy, just because it's just the glorification of gun violence is just something that I'm kind of over at this point. Not that I'm anti-gun, because I'm not. I own a gun, and I totally think that people should be allowed to own guns. I guess the right people. But and so I'll come back to that. But I was having one of the best weekends of my life. My mom is not a movie watcher at all. Like, she just falls asleep at most movies, so she doesn't like to go to the theater. But I actually got her out to see two movies. The first one was Chef, the new Jon Favreau film that I think he wrote, acted, and directed. Ooh, coffee coming. You're in camera right now, honey. ooh, I gotta be, I gotta be, I gotta be careful with the hot coffee. And the movie was wonderful. I actually wrote a little review on my blog about it. And then the next day, we got to, I got to take my mom again, and it was like 8 of us in the party, like my sister, her husband, and the kids, and we all got to watch the new X-Men movie, which, by the way, was excellent. And if you guys want to, we'll do a little spoiler alert later on and talk about it a little more. But it was a wonderful movie, and I was enjoying, just spending time with the family, doing a lot of things together, and then this news come out, and it just totally crashed it for me. So how was your guys' long weekend?
Mine was very quiet.
Mine was not so quiet. My 5-year-old decided he was going to start the summer off with a trip to the ER.
Oh, God.
So he got in a zip lining accident and busted his head open pretty good. Got 3 staples. And,
how do you manage a zip lining accident?
Well, what happened was he decided at the end of the zip line instead of letting go and dropping down before he hit the end of the zip line, he
got clothesline.
Well, he didn't really get clothesline. He just got flipped off of it because they've got this thing set up right so that the zip line will stop before the tree it's tied to. Mm-hmm. However, when it stops abruptly. There's no cushion to it. So his legs kept going and his hands didn't stay on the zip line, so he flipped off and hit his head. I'm not exactly sure what he hit his head on, but he hit it pretty good, and so he had a bit of a concussion, was a little drowsy and a little woozy.
Were you watching this?
My wife was down there with him. I was it was at a friend of ours' house in Paola, and so we were kind of I was around the corner from it. I heard him scream when he fell off and came around the corner and saw him on the ground. Didn't realize how bad it was until I got down there, and he had the back of his head was all red, and his hair was all red and messy, and so she got him into the house and got him cleaned up and said, yeah, that looks like it's probably going to need some stitches. So she took him to the ER, and instead of stitches now, he got staples. So he has 3 staples in the back of his head.
He probably thinks it's cool, doesn't he?
Not quite. He's starting to, because he's starting to get to the point where he's feeling better. He was feeling really good today, or really good tonight, and when we got done playing, we always play video games before he goes to bed. After his little brother goes to bed, him and I spend some time playing video games, and he decided he was going to run up the stairs and got upstairs and realized, oh, that was probably a bad idea. And so I had to give him some ibuprofen to get rid of that headache.
Poor dude. Well, that sucks. That sounds. Trips to the ER are never all that good.
Yeah.
One thing that I did do this weekend, since I had a lot of time to drive, since we drove up and drove down, I actually listened to some of our podcasts, and we don't sound all that horrible. I was impressed. I was impressed that we don't sound all that horrible. The intro sounds kind of cool. I also listened to other people's podcasts, and it was a good thing to know that our podcast is actually a little better than some other ones.
Hooray!
I listened to a podcast that had literally, I think, 7 people on it, and I think that there's 7 people that regular podcast together, and only one of the people I could hear. The other 7 I could not hear, and I had to turn up all the way up, and I only caught like 75% of what they were saying. So that was frustrating, and that's a pretty popular podcast, or maybe it was just because of the topic that I was picking. But it was interesting. It was interesting to try to listen to other people's podcasts and just how the content just didn't feel engaging. But like our shitty podcast is actually pretty easy to listen to and entertaining. I can listen to the whole podcast all the way through. So, good job, guys.
Go team.
We do what we can.
But anyway, after I depressed everybody, let's go ahead and actually talk about something fun, which is Mr. Kip's topic for the day, which is what board games are you looking forward at Gen Con?
Well, I finally get to go to Gen Con after a few years off, so I'm pretty excited about that. And then I found a geek list on Board Game Geek where some guy listed some board games that he's looking forward to, so I cannibalized his list and came up with 5 games that I'm looking forward to, at least hoping to get to try out. The first one is a game called Black Fleet, which is basically a pirate game. The mechanic is pickup and delivery and variable player powers. And looking at the pictures, there's some nice miniatures of pirate ships and stuff like that. So right away, the geek senses started tingling. It's like, all right, I like that idea. And I don't know, anytime I see a nautical theme with the mechanic of pick up and deliver, I automatically think of the 70s board game, Bermuda Triangle, but I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. But still,
That's what you
blast
picked
from the
up.
past. So I'm looking forward to giving that a try. And another game, it's called Istanbul. Holy cow, I can't talk.
Istanbul. No, you said it.
Yeah, you know,
Istanbul.
that place over there.
You could just say Constantinople. Everyone will know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Right, because everybody, just relates to it automatically.
exactly.
Well, yeah, they might be giants.
They might be giants.
Is it Istanbul or Constantinople? Come on.
I just don't have enough whiskey. I think that's the problem.
You're just not enough of a nerd. But anyway, continue Istanbul.
Which basically, all over the Board Game Geek and some other places, it's been getting a lot of buzz, and that's my one follow the crowd game that I'd like to try. Once if I get the opportunity, I will sit down and try to play that game. It seems more of a, I don't know, maybe it's a Euro. I can't really tell, but I'll give it a shot. And then there's another game called Doomtown Reloaded.
That one looked kind of fun.
Yeah, that one does look pretty fun. Western theme. A little bit of betting involved in it, a kind of an area control with a deck building aspect to it. Could be a lot of fun. So I thought I'd give that one a try. And then there's another game called Hyperborea, which is
Heard about that.
which is, a nod to the Conan universe. So it's Conan related. I got to give it a try. And again, it's kind of the same mechanics as Doomtown, at least listed that way, with area control and betting and deck building and all that good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the last one is Kanban or Kanban.
Combine?
Kanban.
Kanban, yeah.
Kanban. It's by the designer of a game I really like called Vinos, which is a Euro about being a winery owner, I guess. So I really like that game. So this Kanban is more of a automotive kind of a theme to it, and of course my pages are unresponsive, so I can't jump to the page. But it looked good, and I mostly have it on my list because it is designed by the guy who created Vinos, and like I said, I really like that game. So it's like, that could be worth a shot. Plus if I get a shot to play for free in the vendor area, why not give it a try?
Well, okay, for us non-board game geeks, what's a Euro?
It is a how best to describe a Euro game. I always look at it as Euro games to me are like the worker placement type of games where you've got a limited choices. You got choices out there on the board of what you can do, but they could be taken away from you depending on your turn order. Man, I am terrible. I am terrible at explaining what a Euro game is.
It's okay. We can just go ahead and use Board Game Geek's definition, which is that a Euro game, or alternatively, a designer board game or German-style board game, is a classification of board games that are very popular and throughout Europe. And basically, most Euro games share the following elements: the player conflict is indirect or usually involves competition over resources or points. So combat is extremely rare.
Yeah, that's usually like a worker placement game where you can put your worker on a certain spot that gives you a type of action you can do, but there's only limited spots on the board, so at whatever order in the turn you're on, you may need this one spot, but the guy ahead of you may take it, and then you've got to choose another spot to do a different task. That's what that is.
Okay. The other one, it also says players are never eliminated from the game, so all players are still playing at the end of the game. That's another characteristic of a Euro game,
which I like.
There's very little randomness or luck. Randomness that is either mitigated by having the player decide what to do after a random event, rather than before. Dice are rare, but not unheard of. The designer of the game is listed on the game's cover box. Though it is not particular to yours, the Eurogame movement seems to have started this trend, and this is why some gamers and designers call this genre the games designers games. Much attention is paid to the artwork and the components. The plastic or metals are rare. More often, the pieces are made out of wood. That's kind of cool. Yep. Euro games have a definite theme. However, the theme most often has very little to do with the gameplay, and the focus is instead on the mechanics. For example, a game about space may be the same as a game about ancient Rome. Some examples of Euro games, and some of this probably a lot of people have heard about, is Settlers of Catan, Puerto Rico, Tigers and Euphrates, Power Grid, Ra, El Grande.
Okay.
So
yeah, those. Morph, you've played a few of those.
Yeah.
I think Settlers of Catan is pretty popular. Puerto Rico is probably popular with like older gamers, I guess. you show your age sometime. I think Settlers of Catan is probably more the newer generations, at least. And again, I don't know anything. Kip is the one that knows about this stuff.
Evidently not. You had to look up Euro definition.
I just wanted to throw you a bone.
Well, you've got Google Fiber, so you were able to get to the page quicker than I was.
I know my pages actually load,
Just get an error 404.
Right. I can even do air quotes.
I went through the list of games there that you put on the show notes. There was a couple others. I had several of them that you had put on there, or that you had mentioned, like Hyperborea or Hyper.
Hyperborea.
I used to know how to say that word.
I just made it up.
Yeah. But the other one that I thought was really kind of interesting is The Witcher, which is based off of a video game. I'm curious to see how they handle that, because from what I've read about The Witcher, that world that video game lives in is pretty detailed, pretty in-depth, and pretty cool, kind of like a Monster Hunter type video game. So that intrigues me on how they're actually going to make that one work.
This always amazes me when I hear you talk about stuff and you get all excited, but you don't play WoW and you don't play a Warlock in WoW, which I think will be such an enjoyable experience for you.
Yes, I don't have a computer that will run WoW, for one, and two, I don't have the time to sit and play WoW.
That's what you say. Excuses.
Yeah. My gaming consists of 30 minutes to an hour at a time. I'm pretty sure I would not be able to get through a WoW session in 30 minutes or an hour.
But you do play kids with your games, and the topic for you today is watching your kid evolve into a gamer, one video game at a time. So tell us about that, sir.
Well, that kind of came from, I didn't have a topic for tonight, and then I was sitting down here looking at the show notes, and I mentioned before that my son and I play video games before we go to bed, and the rule is he's got a stack of video games here that he can pick from. Some of them are Xbox 360, most of them are Wii games, and but the one that he got for Christmas was Lego Marvel Superheroes, and that has been almost a constant play. Every night he's wanting to play that game. And it is incredible watching him go from when we first put this in to him not knowing who the characters were to not know, like needing me to help him to push the right buttons to say, hey, it's telling you to push B here. There's a giant B on the screen. Push the B button. And he have to look at the controller and push the B button. Or just like, hey, you need to come and move over here, and me have to get up from the chair and point at the screen so that he would know where to go. And for most of the puzzles, for anyone who plays Lego games, they're puzzle based. You know, you have to solve these puzzles in order to move forward. And you know, he wasn't interested in doing any of those. Now, watching him progress each day that we play this game, and tonight we've beaten the game once. We've gone through and played every level on free play again and unlocked a lot of stuff. We've unlocked whole new levels. We're actually we have 175 out of 250 gold bricks. We have a lot of the secret stuff unlocked, and tonight we were going through just running through New York City, playing the different side quests, and it was kind of awesome being able to watch him, because at one point I just sat back and watched him go through and pick an item, go solve the puzzle to get the item and unlock a new character, and he did it all himself without me helping him, without him looking down at the controller to see what button to push. It's just kind of fun watching him evolve and seeing this change, and I can't wait to, you know, I can't wait for him to get a little bit older so we can start playing a little bit more complicated games and getting him in, you know, just a little bit deeper into this, into video gaming, and see what he can come up with. Because you know, when I was 5 years old, I didn't have these options. I didn't have a video game system at 5, and so I think it's kind of cool that he has this ability and it seems to be enjoying it. So I just think that's cool.
What this is starting to remind me of is, you know, when we were kids, it was your parents knew they were old when you could beat your dad at a sport. Now, Morph is going to know he's old when his son beats him at a video game.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that's going to be a little while, because I still get to practice those games. I don't have to be athletically inclined. I remember when I beat my dad at playing a little one-on-one basketball, and he always just chalked it up to, well, he's old and I was young, so I should beat him. Well,
don't you have like a foot on him?
On my dad?
Yeah.
I don't have a foot. I got maybe a couple inches, but I don't have a foot.
You're pretty tall.
Yeah, my dad's fairly tall too, so.
Okay. Hey, it looks like you're repping comics. I'm repping DC today.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you see I got my Wolverine shirt on.
Wolverine. I'm repping DC. You're repping Marvel.
Which is kind of
funny. I'm repping business attire.
Yeah, that'll feed into our next topic. But before that next topic, I wanted to talk about this because I think the noise in the internet is making me sad. because so I mean I don't even know where to start, but one of the things that sometimes makes me sad is that there are so many people out there that think that they're by themselves, that there's nobody like them, that there is, that they're never going to get out of the situation that they're in. And I think that all of those thoughts can get you into these loops or whatever. But, here you have three nerds that, all have successful relationships with women now. you know, we all had probably our awkward phases at one point where, quote unquote, we couldn't get laid. But, now we have successful, meaningful relationships, and, life is pretty awesome in that side of things. So there is hope for people. So that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that, um, the message gets out. And when I wanted to start doing this podcast thing, and before Kip actually started doing this podcast, I had started to write kind of like a show run type of thing, like an outline of what we could do, because this topic that I'm bringing up right now is something that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to create a podcast where and I wanted to call it Relationship Aside, talking about relationships. And because there is this thing called, and now it's being more exposed because of what happened with this kid, that is called the manosphere. And there's like tons of websites that are basically telling kids how to be quote unquote pickup artists and how to be good at the game. And they're very misogynistic type of approaches to relationship. And the reason that I wanted to do that podcast is that, we could, review movies or talk about relationships, talk about relationship problems, and, kind of being a geek. And, how do you translate, what you do into dating? Because for some reason, media always tells you gotta go for, the Barbie looking girl per se. Let's take that stereotype, and that, you look at the movies. I mean, even Steve Urkel, it's got to be the very, very attractive woman. And if you keep on trying, if you do your best, you're eventually gonna get a quote unquote chance with her, instead of trying to find somebody that has something in common with you, maybe one of your hobbies. There are plenty of women out there that are true geeks, and they like either fantasy novels. We had a prominent writer here, and she liked sci-fi related stuff and geeky stuff and video games. And I think that that's something that a lot of people miss. You don't have to go for the cheerleader at your high school if you're not into cheerleading, or if you're not into sports. There's probably somebody out there that has similar, taste or likes that you do, that you can befriend and eventually date. It doesn't have to be, this idealize of, popularity or beauty or whatever, because I think that that's that's one of the messages that can come out of this, that loneliness and feelings of inadequacy can turn into something very, very pervasive for people. And obviously this kid had other issues, and we're not going to know exactly how it came to this. We don't know if it was just the mental illness, if it was just that he took it to a place that he didn't. I'm personally leaning more towards this guy got radicalized by reading garbage online, and just hating women and hating society. And I don't know. It really touched me, because I'm sick of seeing this. I'm sick of seeing massacres. I'm sick of seeing gun violence, and I'm sick of people not recognizing that that's a problem that we as a society in the U.S. are having right now. And now that this kid was, once again, a little nerdy or whatever, he played Warcraft, he, was nerdy. Now once again it's going to be like, well, the nerd that couldn't get the girl, went nuts and shot a bunch of people out. It just is depressing to me. What do you guys think?
Well, I think part of the problem, and you touched on it a little bit, is I think a lot of the younger generation gets their idea of what life is like through the internet. I think they see sex as they see it in porn. They see girls as they see it on Google Images. and it's just completely unrealistic. And I think it's a hard pill for a lot of guys to swallow, that it really isn't this way, and when life doesn't match up to what their reality, what they think their reality is, if you're just a little touched anyway, it could set off a major chain reaction, which I think is what happened.
What about you, Morph?
I think I think there's just some people out there that don't understand what they're doing. I think there's some people out there that have problems, and the way they feel like they can solve them is with violence, because they've never been taught how to solve problems any other way. And I don't think any of it has to do with video games. And
you're right, it doesn't, because there are video games, and there's more violent video games in other countries, and tons of access to other stuff in other countries, and they don't have the mass murder, so we do, especially not being perpetrated by young kids.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think some of the United States problem with that is it has to do with the society of, or the culture that has been built within the society of this idea that parents need to be working all the time and don't pay attention to what's going on everywhere else. I think honestly, I think that's where this whole thing stems from. And video games are just there, and violence in TV and movies is just there. We're desensitized to some of that. I will agree with that. I see it with kids in the neighborhood playing. I can tell you there's some kids in the neighborhood that come around the house, and the first thing they want to do is play Call of Duty, which for somebody who's in first or kindergarten, first grade, I think is not a good idea. And I think that's wrong, but that's not the kid's fault. That's not the video game's fault. And that's not the console manufacturer's fault. It's the parents' fault. The parents aren't paying attention to what they're doing. They're not looking at what they're doing, and they're not explaining to the kids what they're doing. So, growing up, we always had, we had a time where the kids, if me and my sister wanted to watch TV, then we would sit down with mom and dad and we'd watch TV. And there were certain shows that they watched, and some of them were probably a little more graphic and a little more violent than what a kid that age would be watching, but we were watching it with our parents. So if we had any questions, we'd bring it up and ask, or our parents would explain it to us. I don't think that's going on now. I don't think any of that's going on. And I think that's where some of this comes from. I think that's where some of this violence comes from, is nobody's explaining to them that this is make-believe. It's not real. No matter how realistic these graphics look or how realistic something is in a video game, it's not real. It's all made up. So, I don't.
Sorry, I did not mean to laugh, but John.
No, I'm laughing at Kip looking over the cat.
So for those of you that are just listening to this in our podcast, when we're recording it, you get an opportunity to join us on Wednesdays and see. Sometime during the podcast, there's always a cat that will walk to a shot.
It's always the same cat too.
Is it always Nikki?
It's always Nikki.
But I think I agree with everything that Morph said. I think that parenting is what makes a huge difference. And I'm not one for censorship. I've always had a problem with, even churches that tell people you can only read this type of literature or whatever. However, garbage in, garbage out. If so much information is out there and that information gets into the wrong hands, it really can damage somebody's perception. It can really radicalize somebody. And I think that, at least in my opinion, this kid, like you guys said, probably, didn't have the best parents or the most involved parents, and they were just obsessed with, making money or being successful or whatever it is that they were trying to do. And this kid got his moral compass and the way that he looked at humanity and the way that he looked at women from the internet and from internet forums. And a lot of times people say whatever the hell they want on an internet forum, and they don't care about the consequences of what their words are going to be. And they don't understand that a young mind that is not made to process maybe the level of information or frustration or whatever, it's gonna do some damage. I mean, even with the thing that is going on with Donald Sterling, right now, we have access to stuff that we normally wouldn't have access to. The information age is definitely a double-edged sword, where we just have access to so much information, and people get to read stuff out of context. This kid got radicalized, and it really got into the points that he was obsessed with women, and he thought that they were objects that other people were having access to, and that he didn't. It was just ultra misogynistic, and there are people in the internet that are basically promoting those ideas. It's sickening to me, but there is. People like that exist.
Well, it's the anonymity of the internet. People feel empowered to say whatever they want to because nobody can touch them. I can put up Kip Killigan and nobody hell knows. Well, few people know who that is. But, somebody, 14-year-old kid somewhere else who's looking for affirmation on what he believes, and I just spew some crap that happens to fall in line with him. Great. There's no repercussions on me, even though I'm just contributing to the problem because nobody knows who I am. You can't say that some of that stuff face-to-face with people, you get punched in the face. But online, you pretty much can do whatever you want, say what you want. And
Yeah.
it's pretty dangerous.
It is. I think information without context is always a little dangerous. And I'm really sad. I hope something positive comes out of it. I don't know that it will. I'm trying not to be cynical, but this one really made me sad that there was no reason for more loss of life. And like the dude killed his two roommates and a guest, and just because they were they had annoying voices and they were nerdier than he was, so they deserved to die. I mean, that really struck a chord of like, dude, you're a nerd yourself, but you have superiority over other nerds. Like, this dude was really messed up.
Yes, he was, and it's unfortunate that it ended where it did. Unfortunately, it's going to just keep taking incidences like this for people to actually finally take a look at fixing the problem that creates the person instead of let's just take away their means of killing. That's not going to stop them. This guy actually stabbed 3 people as well as shooting 3 people.
Yeah, it wasn't really the
so
gun.
taking the guns away isn't going to do anything. Taking the knives away isn't going to do anything. What's going to fix it is helping a person like that before they get to that point.
Yeah.
And I got nothing. That's just the way I see it.
Yep. And it was just something that I've had in my mind. I actually blogged about it. I haven't blogged in a while, but I want to get it out. It's almost like I got bit by a snake, and I need to get the poison out because it's just shitty to even think about this topic.
Yes, it is.
But now I'm going to put Mr. Morph on the hot seat. Where is our poll?
Where is it? It's on Facebook.
Well, I know that, but like,
I want to know where it's at. You know what? I don't know because I didn't pull that up. Hold on. I'm working on it. We can vamp for a minute here while I pull.
If you had Google Fiverr,
Well, it's not so much that. It's that, you know what, I honestly forgot to pull that up before the show started. So, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. We're doing a straw poll here. And the results for the Marvel movies, it's actually surprisingly well, I don't know if it's surprising or not. It's lopsided towards the Marvel movies. They The Marvel movies are about 80% are people looking forward to the Marvel movies, and only 20% looking for the TV shows, which I don't know if that's really all that surprising. The movies are are hot and heavy right now, and honestly, there's probably been more of them that have been bigger hits. Um, but the you know, I personally voted for the DC TV shows. I'm looking forward to the TV shows because I'm looking forward to um, the quicker content, and I think they can do. I'm a huge fan of TV shows that are able to do it right and are able to wrap everything together and tell a story that can be so long and in depth that they can't do it in a movie. I mean, there's some TV shows out there that were so good that if they would have taken and tried to put those in a 2-hour movie, they would have been terrible. But because they could put them in a 30 or 40-hour TV show, they ended up being really good. So I'm kind of excited to see what those come up with.
Probably also doesn't hurt you that you never have time to go to the movie theater either.
That is true.
But I think I agree with you. I think I'm personally really excited about Flash. I think it looks good. It looks like a better character. I know that you guys are Arrow fans. Arrow was kind of meh to me. I did not like the lead character. Arrow to me has always been more of a scrappier guy, not so much a rich dude. I've always, to me, he's more of a Gambit character than the Arrow from TV.
Well, and I think that's actually the direction, because I finished this season. I actually finished out this season. I don't know that I will turn it on the next season because I wasn't completely thrilled with the second season, but they are definitely taking it. It looks like they're going to take it in that direction because he is now out of money. He is now no longer the owner operator of Queen Consolidation. He is just some guy that's going to have to get a real life job to afford all the fancy shit he has. So it will be interesting to see where they go with it from here.
Yeah, or maybe I'm just better than you guys at recognizing duds before they turn into duds.
Whatever. No, you're just bitter.
I'm bitter? Why am I bitter?
Because you refuse to see anything out to the end.
No, that is not true. There's plenty of... I've actually watched animes all the way till the end. I've actually watched... Let's see. I watched Smallville for a long time, and I never thought it turned into a dud. It's just I kind of lost interest and lost time, but I would have watched that all the way to the end. Let's see. What else? I watched all of Heroes, even when it got crappy. Let's see. All of the shitty M. Night Shyamalan movies, I've actually watched till the end.
Well, that's your problem right there. You shouldn't be watching those to the end. You should walk out and request your money back. That way,
I should have. I think in The Village, I think I was on a date night when I watched The Village. So if I wasn't on a date, I probably would have walked out.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. What do you think there, Kip? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I of course am looking forward to the movies. I like the I guess the start and the end all happening within a couple hours of each other, so I can see an entire storyline happen. I guess it's part of the shortest attention span that affects America these days, but I'm having a hard time getting all the way through a season. I mean, I gave up on Arrow. I gave up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Because they were shitty.
Well, Arrow was good except for the two sisters had to go, and they weren't going to get rid of them, and
No.
they could never finish a story. It's like from start to finish of me watching that show, they always had flashbacks to the island, which seemed to go fucking nowhere. And then they had another storyline with Slade, and that seemed to be going nowhere. And this stupid Red Arrow never got to be the Red Arrow, and he kept getting all puppy dog-eyed over Arrow's sister, and it's like, get over it.
Oh, did you see this season that Malcolm Merlin's not dead?
Yes. See, again, can't finish a fucking thing.
Hey, Guzman, Logtar, before you start calling this thing a shitty show, it's not that it's a
shitty show.
This show is falling into the same problem that Heroes fell into. Did you watch Heroes?
Yes, and I would agree. Heroes turned into a very shitty show after the writer's strike. It went nowhere fast, and they started going all over the freaking place.
Exactly. The writers tried to cover too much instead of picking a show. And this is my problem. This has been my problem with the way TV shows have been done recently, and it's not just your comic book shows. It's all your shows. They are not, because they are so afraid of being canceled, because they have to write episode to episode, because at any moment a channel can go pull them off the air. These people, there'll be major backlash for them, and they won't be able to recover from it if they aren't able to finish out their show. So they're writing these things for, well, we need to write this so that it can be done really quick and so that it can end and have an ending, but we have to keep something open enough to go on to the next one. And that is the problem with the way these things are written. There are two ways that these shows should be written. One, you either write them as each show you have a villain of the week and they deal with that problem, they solve that problem, and it's done, and the reason you're turning on next is because these characters, you want to know what happens to them next. Case in point is Stargate from back in the day, or even Almost Human with the way it was written in the first half of the season. That was written as an episodic thing. The other way to write stuff is to write it like Lost, where you have a beginning and you have an end, and you just fill in in the middle, and you know where the end is going to be. You have a finite point at the end that you're going to reach, and when you hit that point, it ends. The ending could be good, the ending could be bad. Battlestar Galactica is another one. They knew how long that was and how many episodes that was going to be. And they were able to take it from beginning to end, no matter how many seasons, they said it up front, it's going to be this long. I like the way that is written. I like that stuff, which is part of the reason why I enjoy British dramas more than I do American dramas, because British dramas are given full contracts. They're not given, oh, well, this didn't do good for the first 3 episodes, so we're going to just
you might get canceled.
Trash.
Right.
It's not this first season wasn't, didn't get the ratings enough, so you don't get a second season. No.
Oh yeah, and I think we've talked about this before. The TV in the U.S. is completely broken, and hopefully digital content will change that, and we'll be able to just consume the content that we like, and that's how we're gonna get people are gonna get the funding for the next project from the project they're working on. So if they put out shitty product and they do a convoluted freaking story that doesn't do anything, they're not going to get their next project funded because nobody's going to watch their crap. And then the people that put out great content are going to continue to be able to create great content.
Speaking of projects, did either one of you watch the Will Wheaton project?
No, dude. What is that about?
It's basically the show The Soup or Web Soup?
Yes, the soup. Mm-hmm.
It's basically that, but with Will Wheaton. That's the best way I could put it. You know, he picks topics and they make fun of them and show videos and that kind of thing that kind of reinforces point. I thought it was pretty funny, but it kind of feeds into what Morph was saying, that here's a show that it's created to be each episode standalone, so at any moment they could just decide to pull the plug on you and it's done. Or it could go on and on and on, and you know, the only point to it is it just, you know, is Will Wheaton making fun of people and videos and things like that. And it goes with the, I don't have the attention span of a gnat, so giving me 30-second jokes one after another and I'm pretty satisfied. And I laughed. I had a good time watching it. But, you know, it's not going to be Inspector Lewis or Doc Martin or anything like that, you know, where it's a definite beginning and ending, and with a nice story in the middle. It's just going to be, let's see how many episodes we can cram in before the Sci-Fi Channel cancels it.
Well, and I think it's also relying on a little cachet of Will Wheaton.
Well, exactly, and I think that's why the project got off the ground at all. But it's funny.
Well, and the soup is huge. I mean, the soup has become extremely popular, and TMZ is extremely popular, and that's kind of the same route that these things are going. It's that,
yes,
you know, the Will Wheaton project, from the little bit that I've seen, and I wasn't able to. I forgot to turn it on Sunday when the premiere opened up, but from what I understand, it's basically it's a web series on sci-fi. You know, it's nothing spectacular, but it's going to be entertaining and it's going to be fun, and Will Wheaton's a good jokester, and he's going to get they're going to talk about stuff that and make fun of stuff that us geeks are going to actually enjoy, instead of always talking about celebrities.
True. I mean, he made fun of some TV shows that I like to watch, like Vikings, and then he made fun of like the TV show Salem. You know, they did like a fake promo for it. It's, you know, it's Salem. For those people who think they're going to see boobs, you're not. And then they'd show, you know, how risque they tried to get, you know, with the actresses in Salem, you know, just showing you enough that you think there's going to be something there, and then they take it away. And yeah, that's the kind of humor that's in his show, and it's funny. I mean, really, if you think about it, it's kind of what we do. We pick topics and we talk about them. We may spend more time than 30 seconds on it, but it's not too unlike what we do, except for he gets paid for it.
Yeah.
He makes money, so let's make Will Wheaton more money. He hasn't been a guest on our show, so I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'll care when he's a guest.
Far enough to be a guest on our show.
I know. There's something wrong about that. He doesn't reply to my tweets. I'm gonna have to, you know, stalk him more or something.
All right, Will Wheaton. Montar's gonna stalk you.
Be careful.
Challenge accepted. So
well, before we end, because I know we're getting close to the end.
Wow.
Have you guys watched the trailers? Have you guys watched the trailers for the new DC TV shows?
I watched it for Flash. I have not seen it for Gotham.
I saw Gotham's today.
What do you guys think? Do you think they could be good?
I
think Flash looks awesome.
I love Flash. I think I might actually record it and watch it.
Gotham, I'm unsure, because it's basically Bruce Wayne before he becomes Batman, so I'm not 100% sure what they all can do with that. But
I like
it may
Batman.
surprise me.
I don't like Bruce Wayne.
But that's the thing. Like, Gotham isn't going to be about Batman. My guess is Batman isn't even going to show up in the Gotham TV show.
That's what it sounds like.
It's going to be about Jim Gordon and how he became the top dog, the commissioner of the Gotham PD.
Gordon.
You know, it's going to be about him being this new. It's going to be a crime drama, I think, is what it's going to be. It's going to be maybe a Law and Order or the Shield or something. Not Agents of Shield, the Shield with Chiklis, Michael Chiklis, or something like that. And the only comic book relation that it's going to be is maybe the beginning of some of these villains. Maybe you get to see, if you know that Edward Nygma is the Riddler, well, when he shows up at committing some sort of goofy crime, then you go, oh, that's the Riddler, this is how he gets started. Or, that, what is it, Pamela Isley, I think, is Poison Ivy. Or, Chesterfield Cobblepot or Oswald Cobblepot is the Penguin. I think that's going to be the only tie to the comic book universe, is just the fact that it takes place in the same city and you get some of these cameos. But to me, I think that's going to be fun, because I think that's what made Smallville so popular, was that it took the comic book universe and broke it all the way down to superheroes really aren't there. It's really not about the superheroes. It's more about everything else that's going on while the superheroes are there, and I think that's going to be interesting. I think that could be kind of fun.
Well, if you get a chance to see the Will Wheaton Project, he does a really nice fake trailer for the Gotham TV show. It's pretty funny.
So go check it out on Sci-Fi. All right. Anybody else want to say anything else? Do we want to close this? DC, I think we can say that DC is definitely doing better in the TV market, because I hate Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Marvel is definitely doing better in the movies, because I love the new X-Men movie.
Yeah,
I liked it as well.
Well, do you guys think that this new Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice will actually help DC crack into the movie market, or do you think it's going to be a big?
Have you seen the Batsuit? It looks ridiculous.
Well, yes.
It looks like a chubby Ben Affleck.
Well, yeah.
Stuffed all. It's like what is it saying? Sausage bat stuffed into the casing.
Yes.
He looks ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, this could be amazing. It could be Frank Miller. Frank Miller's Dark Knight come to life, and then pretty Superman beats him. I don't know. I don't have any friggin' expectations for it. I might not even watch it on the theater.
Wow, that's saying a lot.
I'm just saying that picture looks depressing.
Well, and I think that's the perfect. Honestly, I think what you're saying there is exactly what DC is hoping people aren't going to say, is that, nothing really has lived up to the expectations they put on it in the first place, so why should I think this movie is going to be the blockbuster that they say it's going to be? That's what DC's fighting right now.
That they have an uphill battle after they, Why Ben Affleck? He already ruined a character.
I don't know. I don't think he ruined Argo.
No, I'm talking about comic book character. It's like Ryan Reynolds.
The only comic book character he's played is Daredevil, and that wasn't.
He ruined it.
That wasn't his fault. Rob Zombie wrote it. What made you think that was going to be a good movie?
Did you see him try to be a blind man?
It was written and directed by Rob Zombie.
Yeah, and Rob Zombie told him, act like a shitty blind man they can totally see. I mean,
no.
How can you blame that on him?
The movie was written bad. Ben Affleck could have played the perfect blind man, and the movie would have still sucked.
But he didn't. He blind a blind man that could. It's just.
You find me somebody that can play There's a reason why Dustin Hoffman won an Academy Award or whatever it was, an Oscar for playing a mentally retarded guy. It is
Because he didn't
hard.
go full retard.
Oh
It is hard.
God!
It is
Really?
hard to be able
I
to.
hate both of you right now.
It is hard to play a character with a disability that you have
It is.
never lived with.
It is not. I mean,
Yes.
no, it's not. That's why you're an actor. That's what you get paid to do.
Yes.
It's like you telling me it would be really hard for you to get into a drafting program and draft something for the next project that I'm working. That's your job.
No, what I'm saying is it's hard. No, what it would be hard is for me to do your job.
Right. And that's not what we're asking him to do. We're asking him
Yes,
to
we
be a
are.
freaking actor.
We're asking him to be blind, and he's not blind. He's never been blind.
No. That's not what I'm saying, because Daredevil is not really blind. He's got a superpower that gives him, the super hearing or whatever. So he's not really blind. He's supposed to be acting blind. So it's like a double layer where he should have been okay being a shitty blind guy, but he didn't do it was a shitty movie.
He's the guy. He's the dude playing the dude, pretending to be another dude.
Exactly, and he sucked at it. He was the shittiest non-blind guy trying to be a blind guy that is not really blind. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go with that.
That sounds great. All right, I'm done. I got nothing else.
Fine. What about you, Kip?
I think we pretty much covered every unreasonable thing we could.
Check out our blog, geekvice.blogspot.com. Follow us on Twitter @geekvice, Google plus geekvice, or Facebook. Just search for the word geekvice and give us a like. It helps us keep pretty statistics and see what our reach is.
Yeah.
Follow Kip on Twitter @KipKillagan and Loktar also on Twitter @Loktar. Morph continues to be lazy and not get worthless Morph on Twitter, so I'm going to keep on harassing him until he does. Thanks everyone for listening to our ramblings today, and if you want to comment on anything we talked about or send us hate mail, please send us hate mail. You can reach us at geekvice@gmail.com. Good night.
See ya.
Later.